is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us.
Are there patent protection?
Provisional is in place right now. It's about to be, we're getting to the first utility patent. Lots of diligence done though on this. These guys are real experts in blood processing space, and lots of diligence has been done already. And I think there's a very strong reason to believe that the patent will be issued and it will be very defensible.
About monetization.
What aspect?
How are you gonna make money on machine?
So COGS are estimated about, it depends on the scale, of course. Initial COGS will be between $4 and $5. And there are a few different ways that this could be done that are being discussed. The leading ideas, there are two of them. One is a limited set of customers, is a pay-to-play model, pharma being the target. They're so hungry to try to improve the ability to buy specimens in their trials. This is blocking for their own R&D. That there may be a pay-to-play model there where we have limited set of customers with preferential access, first mover advantage for these guys that they pay to get into this and dedicated volumes of units. So there's a very lucrative model there that can achieve that 80% margin. There is also the possibility of going straight to one of these other distributors and manufacturers that are more in the consumable space, the Thermo Fishers, the Danaher's, et cetera. So we'll see about that. They usually want to see some revenue first. So at least in the current market. So we'll see.
Any trade secrets in there?
Yes, I would have to. So a lot of it is borderline public domain secret, just the know-how to implement a device as sophisticated as this is pretty extensive. It's not just a one and done patent, right? There is a huge amount of engineering knowledge that goes into something like this. So, but if you wanted to dive deeper, I'd have to put you in touch with the CTO. He is in this market or industry for a long time, decades.
Is the provisional on that device or is it on the process itself or both?
It's on the engineering that's in the device, particularly around the valves. That's the most interesting space to protect. A lot of the other information is public. There's some discussion about extending during the conversion, we've extended some of the claims, but there's some discussion about whether or not we need to sedate process patents as well. Oftentimes these are a little bit trickier. So not sure the juice is worth the sweet on that one yet.
Makes sense. Who are you in discussion with now that you think would be the most likely candidate?
Yeah, I think Colin mentioned in Dallas that there are active conversations with Eppendorf and Danaher that would be excellent strategic partners. They both make centrifuges already and both have large consumables distribution networks, recognized brands as well. So those would be the most obvious places for a full license.
Okay, thank you all very much. My name is Michael Cormack, and I'm the president of Corwin Medical, and we are focused on the early diagnosis of peripheral artery disease, or PAD. Many of you may wonder, gosh, why are we focused on peripheral artery disease? The disturbing images on your left affects over hundreds of thousands of patients every year. They move from leg pain to chronic limb-threatening ischemia, which is pictured in the middle, and 150,000 every year have a lower limb amputation. It's a personal story for me. My grandfather had a lower limb amputation because of peripheral artery disease. You don't forget that when he was a kid because they didn't have much money. He didn't have a prosthetic. So it's something that you remember, and my wife's family has a lot of diabetes in their family too. So it's an area that I know we can actually treat and do better in. So I have a personal tie to this story. It affects 12 million Americans every year. It's got a 33% mortality rate. Once you're diagnosed with it, 33% within 5 years. It's a progressive disease that often leads to lower limb amputation, and it's costing the U.S. healthcare system $250 billion annually. Most people have not heard of it before. That's the reason I give you these images. Everyone knows what cancer is. If you're diagnosed with cancer, it scares the heck out of you. The mortality rate from all forms of cancer within 5 years is 25%. If you're diagnosed with PAD, your mortality rate is 33% within 5 years. So it's higher than a diagnosis of cancer. So it's a severe problem. The good news with PAD is this is preventable with early detection. You can turn this around, and there is tests that are available the doctors use today to diagnose if a patient has peripheral artery disease. The one on the top left there is the Doppler ultrasound. It is the gold standard. That is the gold standard for testing. The problem with it is, or its downfall, is that it's very difficult to use. Tests can take 45 minutes to an hour to do, and the technician knows as soon as the patient walks in the door. They're frustrated because they can see the weight of the patient and know it's going to be very difficult to find that artery. Right below it is oscillometry or plasmography. Many of you probably had a blood pressure test with one of these that just put it on your arm and it automatically does blood pressure. Unfortunately, that does not work for peripheral artery disease diagnosis because it can't detect two arteries in your leg. And that's what's required for peripheral artery disease. So all the oscillometry systems are not approved for reimbursement. The inventor of our technology looked at this marketplace. It's been around for 25 years, this Doppler Pencil Probe. There's been no innovation in that Doppler Pencil Probe for the last 25 years. They're doing the same thing. What he came up with is our Ultrasense system. We have a multi-element ultrasound array. Instead of just two elements, we have a multi-element ultrasound array, and it bathes underneath the probe to automatically find the vessel. Best way to describe this is if this room was completely dark and I gave you a laser light and asked you to find the wall switch, it would be difficult for you to do it. What we're giving you is a bass drum sized floodlight that you hit and it automatically lights up the whole room. So that's what our automatic system does. We drop testing time from an hour down to less than 10 minutes. We also have stochastic resonance. Everything is, can you hear the pulse? So we're amplifying weak pulses so that you can hear them. And then we have an AI SmartSense algorithm that helps interpret the signal for primary care and helps them to know exactly what that evaluation means. In terms of our technology comparison to the competitors, as I mentioned, plasmography and oscillometry are the biggest, are some of the competitors, as well as the legacy Doppler. What we've done is we've taken the legacy Doppler, we made it easy to use. That's the gold standard. We've made it very easy to use. And we also have very strong patents on our system. Our patents exist around our multi-element ultrasound array and also our SmartSense algorithm that automatically interprets the signal. The American Heart Association is focused on peripheral artery disease. The reason they're focused on peripheral artery disease is if you get diagnosed with PAD, you have a higher chance of death from a heart attack than if you've had a prior heart attack. It's a stronger indicator that you will die from heart disease for PAD. So they're very focused on early diagnosis of PAD. They've got a PAD collaborative. They've got a whole and national action plan to attack this problem. And they just put out new guidelines asking for increased testing of more patients earlier. They also, the AHA picks every year 10 startup companies that they think can have a major impact in the healthcare industry. And we were one of the 10 picked. We were picked because we're focused in peripheral artery disease and early diagnosis of peripheral artery disease. So it's a great association for us. In terms of the market opportunity, the American Heart Association says that 1 billion patients should be tested every year. Who are those? Those are 65-year-olds or patients that have diabetes that are over 50. I'm 65. I've never been tested. Most 65-year-olds have never been tested. Only 20% are getting tested today. And that's because the test is difficult to do. There's a bottleneck that exists. So the actual market today in the United States is 113 million tests, and it's done by cardiologists and vascular specialists. The reason it's done there and not in primary care is because the test takes 45 minutes. That's unpredictable. That's not efficient for a primary care physician. So we are first going to convert this market because we got a much easier system for the cardiologist and vascular specialists to use, and then we'll go after primary care. In terms of our business model, we'll be a software as a service. We'll charge $500 per month, and our margins are over 85% on a 3-year horizon. In terms of commercializing, we're talking to big partners. All these companies have huge sales forces that sell the stents and the atherectomy devices to solve the peripheral artery disease problems. So we've already in conversations with them. We started in Q4 of last year. To get partnerships with them, you have to start well in advance of when you have commercial approval so they can watch your progress. We've had 3 conversations with Medtronic BD, and we've also had conversations with Philips. In terms of operations, we're working with a partner in Minneapolis that's outstanding in terms of manufacturing our system. And in terms of partners, ultrasound expert that we work with at the University of Minnesota and scientific experts at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio. In terms of how we will launch our product, the American Heart Association gives us a national heat map of amputations related to PAD. They're very focused on PAD. So the dark colors on that is the highest amputation rates in the United States based upon peripheral artery disease. We're already partnered with the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio and with the University of Mississippi Medical Center, where amputations are very high. They've helped us design our system. That's what we'll launch first. We have a 2-phase commercialization approach. First, convert the market that exists right now, cardiologists and vascular specialists. And then in phase 2, we'll go and switch it to primary care. And we'll do it on our value proposition of we're reducing the time dramatically of the test with a very accurate and easy to use system. In terms of our financials, we'll start selling next year in 2025. We're going to submit to the FDA this year. So in Q4, we'll have approval in the first half of next year, and we'll hit profitability in 2026. The way we built this, we talked to BD and Medtronic. They have 100 reps. So we just planned 1.5 units placed per month. That's simple, bottom up way that we built this. And it gets us 6% market penetration of the existing market, not a primary care, just the existing market in 2026 and profitability. And a note here for the customer, what does the customer do here? The reimbursement's really high from CMS for this procedure. The reimbursement is $87 per test. So at $500 per month, they only have to do 6 tests. And in a cardiologist's office that has, most of them have 3 doctors that are in that office, those 3 doctors are seeing at least 500 to 600 patients every month. And 25% of them will need a PAD test. So they clearly cover the cost of the system very easily with that $87 reimbursement. We've got a very strong leadership team, over 100 years experience, and most of them worked together before in startups. This is my 4th startup. I've taken 2 public and 3 exits, and this is the 4th one, and a lot of us have worked together on this. And we've got an outstanding team of advisors also that are helping drive us forward. And in terms of the capital requirements, the founders put in $578,000 to get to proof of concept and to get to patent pending status. After we reach that, then we are raising now a seed round of $1.5 million. So 20% discount to Series A, 10% convertible interest with a 25% credit available through Minnesota Angel Tax Credit. We have a cap of $7 million on this, and we already have a lead established. $370,000's already been closed. And then this last slide kind of gives you a timeline from when we started the company. So we started back in 2023. We got to proof of concept and patent pending status. This year we will hit FDA submission. Next year we will commercialize the product. In 27 we'll hit profitability. And I didn't talk a lot about future platforms, but our ability to find vessels is not only the artery, we're focused on the artery, but we can also find the vein. And venous insufficiency is a huge market, and we can diagnose that too. That would be our second platform. And then across the bottom, the awards that we've received this year, recognition, the most significant clearly is the American Heart Association. So thank you very much for your time.
Mine is on the exit. Who do you think would be the most likely candidate to buy you, and are you going to set with them now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we take exit opportunities. So obviously I mentioned that we're in conversations with a number of very large companies, Medtronic, BD, and we're talking to them about distribution opportunities that would happen right here at commercial release. So at commercial release, FDA approval, we see a couple of different things coming together. Number one is we're going to do our Series A. That's when we'll do our Series A right here at FDA approval. That's when distribution rights will be available. So you get a natural competitive tension between industry and Series A. So there is an opportunity for a takeout prior to Series A, or a large player like a Medtronic or a BD won't play in a sandbox with somebody else. So they could participate in Series A, and they will want exclusive rights, and they will probably also pre-negotiate an exit price at some point in the future if they participated in Series A. So that's one. If we chose not to do that, because the price isn't right, the second opportunity would be at the end of 26 or early 27 would be profitable then. And that's when CE mark happens. So it's a second, now you're a profitable company, you've got revenue, and it's a second bite of the apple to be able to talk to those same companies.
For your customers, what would be the cost of or friction associated with switching from what they're currently using to your product?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the number one friction point is, did they just buy one? So if they just bought one that they're using right now, they may want that to continue using that. So what's the life of these? They usually have a 1-year guarantee on them. We'll have a 3 years on ours because they're leasing it from us for 3 years. So we'll upgrade it throughout that process. So what we did in our model is we took the whole size of the market and we downsized the market by 1/3 or by 2/3. So we only played at 1/3 every single year as we built our market because we figured there is that natural resistance. Even though we have a huge value proposition, there still is some of that. So you have to plan for it.
Do you have any people coming up behind you with the similar technology that you're aware of?
No, and we patent, it's stunning to me. Ultrasound's field, non-invasive ultrasound, it has a lot of innovation in it. Most of it is on the imaging side. They're making the imaging scanners that you can see babies on your telephone from an image scanner. Well, we are not imaging. What we do on this side, when they're diagnosing blood flow in your arteries, is they're using a pinging system. It's like looking for subs underneath the ocean. They're sending a ping down, it bounces off the red blood cell and it comes back. And it can pick up the speed of the red blood cell. It's not imaging. Imaging takes a lot longer. I'm not saying imaging is never done here. It's just the CE or according to reimbursement, you have to do Doppler first because it's the easiest, it's the least burdensome, and it's the least costly. So Doppler is what they pay for. They will do imaging second. So there's not been a lot of innovation in this space. That's what we stepped into with the multi-element ultrasound array.
Okay, so my primary task is to keep you awake for the last 15 minutes. I'm Colin. I'm the founder and CEO of SleepScore Labs. Just a little tiny bit about me. I've been in the sleep business for 14 years. I was responsible for selling a sleep measurement technology company as part of a team to ResMed in 2011. You probably know ResMed. It's the global leader in sleep medical devices with market cap more than $30 billion. And I joined ResMed, spent 6 years inside the company, and then we decided to spin out a completely new company from ResMed called SleepScore Labs. So that's just a little bit about the backstory. And well, what are we doing? Well, everybody here knows that sleep is important. Everybody here knows that every single person in the world sleeps every day. So that part I don't have to educate you about. But what you may not realize, just to share with you a couple of data points, sleep is now the #1 health concern of consumers. They search about sleep today at 5 times the rate of mental health, 4 times the rate of exercise, 2 times the rate of diet, and at a greater rate than any single health concern whatsoever. Now, why is that? Well, because they're learning and we're learning that sleep is actually not only important and not only nice. That said, when I was a kid, it was for wimps, but sleep is actually a driver of chronic disease. And so, for example, a study of the last number of months that's been published, which I thought was really important for me to remember personally, was every 1 minute of deep sleep that I lose at the age of 60 results in a 27% increase in the risk of dementia. And I could then talk about relationships between poor sleep and cardiovascular disease, poor sleep and oncology, and so forth. So the key across this picture is sleep is important, but how to solve it. And so our mission is to supercharge the health and wellness companies that reach consumers and patients all around the world with the sleep data and insights that they need to actually do something about it. So today we're a B2B2C company. So we are not a consumer company. We're not a healthcare company. We're a B2B2C company. And we've been building the ecosystem, the technology that everybody in sleep needs in order to deliver better results and outcomes. We already have customers, so we're loved and trusted by a growing number of those customers. Some to you may be obvious, like Mattress Firm, the leading retailer in sleep consumer products, but also Terabody in fitness, or international flavors and fragrances that are making compounds and ingredients that go inside all of the CPG products you've already used so far today, right? But across all of those industries, there's one thing in common. Why do they come to us? They come to us because clearly the $1.6 trillion global wellness market continues to grow. Despite all of the challenges in the economy, it continues to grow more than 6% CAGR. And within it, today, sleep is now the number one priority for consumers. So these companies need to build solutions that those consumers and patients need to buy. But they don't have the data, they don't have the sleep expertise, they don't have the data, the insights, and the intelligence that they need to drive those solutions. And that's why they're partnering with us. We've plugged that gap. So we're already earning $4.4 million in revenue in 2023, and that's mainly a recurring revenue, and that clearly is on a path to exploding, and I'll explain more about why. How do we do this? Well, we leverage AI and data, but I want to say something about this. We acquired a company that had AI and data literally at the very beginning, 7 years ago. We have been doing AI and sleep data for all 7 years. Just so happens that it's a very common topic right now, but we've been using it to leverage the data to drive insights and deliver outcomes. Just to put that into context, we have now collected more than 500 million, actually as of this morning, 512 million hours of sleep data. And much of that is our own proprietary technology, which came from ResMed, which enables us essentially to look at data from all sources. We have also completed more than 235 separate sleep intervention studies, understanding exactly what effect any given intervention has on a person's sleep in the real world. And then we have also built this platform from end to end with evidence base at its core, including a randomized controlled trial that we published just last year. Quickly into each one of those. So why is the data so important? Well, the bottom line is that when it comes to sleep, the data is a mess. Every consumer, or in fact 280 million people in the United States, have used or are using some form of wearable device. But if you use all of those wearable devices on the same night, they're going to give you a whole bunch of different answers. And the problem is you don't know what to do with it, and neither do the companies. So there's a lot of data out there, but the companies who are reaching those consumers, they don't know what to do with it. And of course, we've been figuring that out. We've been going through and we've collected, as I mentioned, 500 million hours of data. And we've been in a position, therefore, to understand the relative strengths and weaknesses so that we can then normalize and build AI models to figure out how to leverage that data, no matter where it comes from. Because we have deep ingrained sleep expertise right from the beginning, we know how to use the data, we know how to draw the insights from it. This just gives you a very simple idea about those insights. For example, we had a subject use the SleepScore platform, use the Aura platform, use the SleepWatch platform, just an app which is based here in SoCal and uses data from the Apple Watch. And this is just a very quick visual insight about the differences in terms of the kinds of insights and the kinds of advice that our platform is able to deliver to people, because we have the depth and the expertise in the space. And then finally, as I mentioned, something we're very, very proud of, we built all of that into a platform, and that platform leverages the data and the insights and then provides personalized coaching, screening for disorders, specific recommendations about the changes in the environment, in your bedroom, et cetera, And pulling all of that together, we then put that through the rigor of a randomized controlled trial, which is why this is the first and only platform to be fully reimbursed to any population anywhere in the world. And today, 74 million people in Germany are entitled to use it. Their insurance company must pay for it by law without the need for a doctor's prescription. So how can we make business out of this sleep data AI platform? Well, as you can imagine, because everybody sleeps and because sleep drives everything, there are lots and lots of potential applications. There's the obvious, which most people will understand. Sleep disordered screening. Of course. Do you have apnea? Do you not? Do you have chronic insomnia? Do you not? Do you have restless leg syndrome, narcolepsy, and so forth? So there is data being used for screening. So that's obvious. But what about health and wellness apps? Well, you can't help a person to lose weight or to be fit or to deal with a mental health challenge or to control their blood sugars or indeed many, many other things without stable sleep. But those companies don't have the expertise or the data or the insights to provide that. So essentially, sleep.ai is easily built in through software SDKs and APIs. So every health and wellness app can bring sleep, evidence-based sleep, into what it does. but also there are reimbursed programs like I mentioned in Germany and in fact in employers here in the States. But also companies can use sleep data to drive innovation in this vast and growing market of more than $500 billion around sleep. So there are many others to think about travel. How do you and why do you go to one hotel versus another? Why do you spend extra money on a lie-flat seat on a global trip? Sleep is a driver of all of these things, and the data and the insights are important in all of those areas. But we're not about trying to boil the ocean just yet. The core for us has been about scaling up in the three areas or three use cases for the Sleep.ai platform, which are already now essentially becoming the foundation of our business. So first of all, in health and wellness apps, we have a SaaS business model. We make our technology available to health and wellness apps. They can easily build it into their business. We have a simple license agreement. We take and exchange the data and the insights. And essentially that business, on average, we earn $75,000 per year, up to $400,000 a year for our largest contract. And that's usually a recurring contract, which goes anywhere from 2, believe it or not, to 10 years. So that is a big market. There are 350,000 health and wellness apps, and there are enough of those, 15,000, where sleep is a driver and where they have the scale to pay for this kind of service. So there's a big opportunity there. In terms of reimbursed programs, I talked about Germany, but actually the rest of the European Union is following. So as a consequence, we expect further investment in preventative medicine, which has been driven in Europe by Germany, and that will further expand that particular market. There, we simply get paid per member per year. It's a straightforward flat fee. We earn that fee, and that's how we get paid. And then finally, in R&D and innovation, as I mentioned, that is a very significant part of our business already. In fact, we got their first traction there. And there it's about fees for the data and ongoing licenses. So typically for a partner, they're investing upwards of $100,000 over a period of 5 years for a combination of both of those things. And just for your information, last year we drove $3.3 million in revenue from this alone. Okay. Competitive environment, let me just say, some people ask me, is Aura a competitor? The answer is they're not really a competitor. Aura is a source of data, but we know what to do with the data. So the challenge for wearables is that the companies that need the data, they don't want to pay for everybody to have the same wearable. So if you're an insurance company, if you're a health and wellness company, and sleep matters, you can't afford to pay all of your customers to buy an Aura ring or an Apple Watch or any other given device. What we do is we enable them to access the data from whichever device or technology their customer is using. Secondly, we have the clinical trials and the scientific studies behind every single one of the recommendations that we make. And we have also built that into a platform which is easy to deploy. And we could talk in more detail about this a little bit later, but suffice it to say, there's nobody directly doing what we do with Sleep.ai. So where are we today? Well, now it's about scaling up. So we have a business. We have gross margins which exceed 80%. In Q4 of this year, we will be EBITDA positive. And our focus now is driving growth. We need to tell our story. We need to reach more potential customers in each of those 3 priority areas. And that's the reason why we're raising funding. A little bit about the team. Look, if you want to change the world, you need to have the right team. It's a key feature. I myself, as I mentioned, I come from 14 years of experience in sleep from ResMed most recently, and indeed ResMed are investors in the company. But my COO, Gil Adato, he's got extensive software and then technology experience, and more recently spent 4 years in ResMed's major competitor, Philips. And we have added around us a team of people that include people with product management expertise, but also data science expertise, because at the heart of our company, it's about the data, the science, and how we can extract value to help other companies to develop and deliver solutions that actually work. So we are now raising a $3 million note, a convertible note. Our goal with that note, of course, is to be profitable by the end of the year, so we're well on track to that. We're using the note primarily to enable us to begin to invest in sales and marketing. The key for us now is we have not invested in sales and marketing. We have $4.4 million in sales. Our customers have come to us. Now it's time to bring that out to the market and continue to grow. And every deal that we sign brings more data, and more data brings more models and predictive analytic capability, which we've been building all of the time. In our space, in terms of the potential exit, well, we have two investors already inside the company who are potential acquirers of the company. ResMed itself, for obvious reasons, and then Mattress Firm, which is also an investor in the company and a key customer. So our focus is on driving value and expanding that. And we believe that that in turn is going to drive, particularly because the company will be profitable from the end of this year, beginning of 2025. That sets us up very, very well for an exit along with further revenue growth. So thank you.
And the first question, what's the moat around the business? What's the strongest? How do you keep the competition from copying what you're doing and you not taking the whole thing, taking pieces of it?
Yeah, great question. The data is virtually impossible to replicate because we have, not only do we have data that we collect from other people, anybody can do that, but we have that referenced versus the ground truth, which is from the ResMed technology. So the data to begin with, 235 studies and growing. Those studies, which enable us to make specific personalized recommendations, well, you can also copy that, but even Google with a big checkbook is going to take 3 to 5 years at minimum to copy that. And finally, around that, we have also 4 patents pending, and we're in the process of filing a separate or additional 2. So we've been building IP around that moat. And so essentially that's it. We have significant market credibility. Companies are coming to us because there are no other sources of these kinds of data and insights available anywhere in the world. Thank you.
I'm not familiar with the ResMed product. So is there ongoing data being fed into your models to that and all the other devices that you're collecting from? Or is there a certain point in time where you have your own device in those instances where that data is not?
Right. We licensed in the ResMed technology at the very beginning or foundation of the company. And we use that technology not through the device, but basically through the phone, because our technology is capable of converting a typical smartphone into a biomotion sensor. So using sonar or sound waves, we're measuring the respiratory pattern and activity or body motion. So we built our own sensors originally in ResMed, and then we turned it into software. And then in SleepScore Labs, we distributed that to build our data sets. So that technology we have licensed to as part of our arrangement with ResMed. But that's not the business. Measurement of sleep is not a business. The insights, it's the how you use that data to screen a person and to drive a sleep improvement. And that's what we focus on.
Yeah, following up on that, help me understand how this data is actionable for your customers. Maybe you can provide a quick example.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how
right.
I take what you provide to sleep better.
Yeah, of course. Well, first things first, it goes to the data. So we want to understand how are you sleeping. So we collect the data and understand that. Then we have built models. Those models compare your sleep to the norms, your age and gender. And then based on that normative sleep that we expect you to be achieving versus what you're achieving, we identify the gap. And our advice engines, it's all done through our AI-enabled engines. And that gap is then what defines how we provide help to you. So for example, some people have a problem falling asleep. Other people have a problem maintaining their sleep during the night, etc. So when we then understand the cause, the next job we do is we understand, again, leveraging the data, what's the most likely effect. So for example, if you're a person who's struggling to stay asleep during the night, we're then going to be looking at, for example, how you report to us on stress, alcohol consumption, exercise, temperature in your bedroom, and so forth. There are a whole variety of factors that could cause that issue. And based on that, our engine does an assessment and then delivers you content, coaching, and advice around that specific issue. That engine is continuously learning. It's highly personalized and it's continuously learning. And that is why it delivers better outcomes, which is why it's approved by the German government and it's successful with the RCT. So at a very simple level, that's what it is. However, within that, we see people who have risk of sleep apnea that's not been diagnosed. We then point that out and screen you and then connect you to the appropriate services. Or we see people with other undiagnosed sleep disorders. So A lot of factors go into how you sleep, which is why the data has to be incredibly robust and complex, also in terms of understanding it.
So it's with the revenue that you have now,
Yeah.
is it B2B?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned B2C too, though your business model is not
Yeah.
both.
Well,
So,
yeah, our business model is B2B2C.
yep,
Which means we are providing B2B services to companies that are then selling or adding those services to final consumers.
I see, you're a B2B business.
Yeah.
That's how you'll make all your.
All of our money is B2B.
Right, so like,
Yes.
like Restwell, or the mattress company, they would buy your data set so that then they will package that back to the end.
Right.
Inside.
So let me give you an example. Mattress Firm as an app. It's like 1 million customers, will use that. Our technology is driving all of that. Mattress Firms also investing in data collection and studies on the products themselves. And we've got many, many different, services that we provide them, but also all of our customers. Yeah. So you get some sleep tonight, even though this is the day.
That wraps it up for today, guys. If you want to network a little bit, I'll go over to the happy hour here in just a few minutes. You guys might. Make sure you vote as well. You give us a scan on that there. I've already gotten several scans of people myself, so I know.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.